it's not all Christmas cheer now, is it? Because as we speak, as you're watching me speak to you on camera, the United States Senate is plotting to bloodsuck more of the money out of your wallet and hand it to all of their friends. That's what they do. Chuck Schumer's already come out and said he's pretty confident they're going to get one of these big old fat spending bills done just in time for Christmas. So sorry you can't afford extra gifts under the tree this year. The United States Senate will ensure that they are well taken care of themselves. One of the few people who actually fights back against this nonsense joins us now, Senator Rand Paul, great senator from the state of Kentucky. Okay, Senator, exactly how bad is the bill going to be? We all know it's coming.
Well, we spend and borrow millions of dollars every minute, and it gets worse as we speak. Interest payments now are nearly $1 trillion. Interest payments are the largest item in the budget now. So, it's in a death spiral. And it's being led by mandatory spending, the entitlements, and yet both parties seem oblivious to wanting to do anything about the entitlements. We can't keep spending this way. And I, for one, would say, we have to have a dramatic change. We have to look at all of the entitlements. We've got to look at all the spending. We frankly have to look at military spending. I just came from a meeting where the Republicans are plotting to use what's called reconciliation next year when we have the House, the Senate, and the presidency, but they're going to use it to explode the military caps and spend beyond the military caps and make the military spending mandatory, not discretionary. That's their first bill. That's their first plan, is to exceed the spending caps. And it's like, what a mixed message. We have all these great things we're hearing from Elon Musk and from Vivek Ramaswamy about cutting spending, all for that, cutting waste. That's a great message, and it's resonating with conservatives. And yet what you're hearing from the leadership on Capitol Hill is, how can we use reconciliation, simple majority vote? How can we use it to spend more money? So I'm fed up with it, and I will speak out. I spoke out in my caucus today and said, I will not support this unless there's significant spending reductions. If you want to have some money for the border, want more money for the military, you're going to have to cut more than you give. I'm not just going to vote to allocate more money.
Senator, I'm glad you spoke up, and I'm not at all surprised that we have these people like Thune who would want to do something like this, but how outnumbered are you? I know there aren't many we can count on in the United States Senate. There are the Lees and the Cruzes and people like that, but how outnumbered are you? When you talk to your fellow GOP senators, is there any appetite for cuts anywhere, ever?
It's interesting what the take is. I was told that it wasn't the right time. The right time will come, but just now's not the time. We shouldn't be taking hostages. And so I stood up, and the senator who said this was well-intentioned, but I said, no, we absolutely should take hostages. All it takes is me and 3 other senators to say we won't vote for it, and it will not pass unless you cut spending. So that's my plan right now, is to say, I'm a no. And if I can get 3 other people to be a no, it doesn't mean I'm a permanent no. It means I'm a no until you cut spending in addition to the things you want. And I've been consistent in this, whether it's been, perpetual medical treatment for people from 9/11 for 75 years into the future. I've always asked that it be paid for. I do it every time, no matter how emotional the issue is, no matter how many people want it. I say, if you want this new spending, you got to pay for it by taking away spending that is in a category that you deem to be less important.
Senator, I asked Senator Marsha Blackburn this one time. I'm going to ask you the same question. These things you lay out, they're math, right? It's not an argument about what a border policy should be. It's basic math. Even a moron like me can understand a pie chart that shows the budget and the interest. We are facing a debt crisis that is inevitable. Do they not know, or do they not care? As much as I think a lot of these senators are morons, I know they can do basic math. Do they not know, or do they not care?
Well, I just finished reading Elon Musk's biography. Walter Isaacson wrote a biography, and throughout it, Elon Musk comes into his businesses and slashes and cuts and tells them, come back, you got to make it cheaper. A part's made by NASA for $1 million. He says, bring the engineers together, we'll make it for $20,000. That's what needs to be done in government. So while I'm all for sending the people back who came into our country illegally, I would send them back at the river. I would not let them cross. I would take them right back across. but I'd do it with the people we have. We have 35,000 people at the FBI. Put them to work. They're behind desks. They're doing stuff like controlling our speech. Put them on the border. Put them to work. They hired all these IRS agents. Put them to work seeking out people who broke into the country illegally. We have all kinds of employees that could be doing stuff, and instead they just want to add more money, add more people, do things that. So there's a lot of things that can be done with the existing folks there, but we don't need to expand government in the process.
Let's talk about these confirmations. Obviously, one already went down in flames, but now we have some big ones, some really important ones as we try to get some reformers through here. People like Kash Patel, Pete Hegseth, and others. Are you gauging the temperature in the room, and what is your temperature on these nominations? Do you think we're good? Are we in serious trouble?
You know, when you look at the abuses at the FBI, it's going to take someone like Kash Patel, a disruptor, to go in there and clean house. And I think what we need to keep reminding the crazy people on the Trump deranged left is that we're not going in there to take over the FBI to go after our enemies. We're going to remove the people who use the FBI to go after their enemies. It isn't that we're going to do what they did. We're going to take out people who've been partisan and who've been working at using their job, using their position of influence to target ministers, pro-life people, pro-free speech people, people like me who say masks don't work. Those people all need to go. The people who concocted the Russian hoax, all of that stuff, those people need to go. The people like Peter Strzok who were saying we need an insurance policy to make sure Donald Trump is never president. What did they do with him? They gave him $3 million. They said he was wrongfully fired and gave him $3 million in severance. So yeah, the whole place stinks to high heaven. It needs to be cleaned out. I think Kash Patel's the person to do it. I'm a big fan of Tulsi Gabbard. I think the intelligence agencies have been used domestically against us. They've been abused. I don't think FISA should be used to search Americans. I think it's a great abuse of this power. So I'd like Tulsi Gabbard. I think that the HHS has taken our money. Some of it they've sent to China, but much of it they're still hiding from me what kind of gain of function or dangerous research is going on. I think Robert Kennedy will be great to clean house over there. So I'm excited about those three picks in particular, and we'll work very hard to get them through. But realize there's a lot of weak-kneed Republicans who stand in the way, and those weak-kneed Republicans are going to need people in your audience to be calling them, writing them, hounding them online, and I mean in a political way, not in a personal way. But we need to be putting pressure on these Republicans to get through some of these picks who are frankly disruptors, but it's a disruption that's necessary.
What do we make of the health picks overall? Like you said, I like RFK, I like Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, Marty, and others, but then we have this Surgeon General pick that I don't know if we could have found anybody worse for this. It's a real mixed message that I'm getting. It's a real mixed bag. Overall, I'm pretty happy, but man, there are some stinkers in there, Senator.
Yeah, I would like to say something good about Jay Bhattacharya and also Marty McCary. Incredible picks. And what's amazing about this is we're going from Anthony Fauci, who was a terrible influence on government for 40 years, and we're going away from that to somebody who he actually tried to take down. He said of Jay Bhattacharya, he was going to use all the powers he had in government to do a takedown. Jay Bhattacharya is a professor with a resume that basically could be compared to any of our leading scientists in the country. And yet Anthony Fauci wanted to try to use his position of authority to take him down. So Jay Bhattacharya is going to be a breath of fresh air. I'm still looking for records on from the government on the dangerous research that's going on. Apparently they're collecting it and still not sharing it with me. We know it's being collected throughout government, and I'm going to get my hands on it. But I feel certain with Jay Bhattacharya, Marty McCary, and Robert Kennedy that I think there's going to be a great deal of sunlight cast on government.
Speaking of Anthony Fauci, the House Select Subcommittee on the coronavirus pandemic released the final report, and it was pretty revealing for everybody who hasn't been paying attention to you or me, to be honest with you, for the last few years. We figured out our entire government is corrupt. We screwed the whole thing up. They tried to screw over people like Dr. J, like you just said. The question is now, Senator, is there any mechanism, anything we can do to hold these people to account. There has to be some sort of a reckoning, or all these scumbags are going to do what they did next time, the first chance they get.
You know, we've discovered that the government is still funding Anthony Fauci. He's retired, and yet the government spent $15 million on him last year, providing him with an armed security detail and a limo driver. So he's working at Georgetown, supposedly. Who knows how much they're paying him? Maybe $1 million. We know he got $1 million from a private foundation, but he has all of this money and this great personal wealth, and we're ferrying him around in a limo driver with armed security. It's treatment we give to former presidents. We're treating him like a former president, which is crazy and obscene. Hopefully, the Trump administration will stop that on day one. But I also will send to the new Attorney General a criminal referral. We sent it twice to Merrick Garland. In that criminal referral, we recount his testimony, but then we also juxtapose his private emails with his testimony. So we accuse him of lying to Congress based on evidence from his own emails. We don't have me accusing him of lying. We have Anthony Fauci corroborating that he lied by his private emails contradicting his public testimony. We will send those again. But I think most important, if we don't ever get to a criminal prosecution, even more important is that history examines and history rewards and puts him in a pile of malefactors who basically were responsible in many ways for the pandemic. So I think he will go down in history as a great advocate of this dangerous research called gain of function. He ignored and evaded all the safety protocols. There was a committee set up to study dangerous research, gain of function research. He went around that committee and exempted the research so it didn't have to be reviewed. And then when we asked him for the deliberations about why it wasn't dangerous, he then has hidden that for years, and his cronies have been hiding that for years. We're going to get to the bottom of it, and I think ultimately history is going to judge him harshly as someone who made a very, very dangerous and wrong-headed decision, and that was that the knowledge that you gain from gain of function was more important than the risk. And I think without question, after 15 million people died from COVID, that the risk of this type of research was not worth the knowledge that was gained.
Senator, I appreciate you. Come back soon. I would thank you for coming to my YouTube channel, but I know how brilliant it is, and I know you love it here. So subscribe and watch. We're going to start really ramping things up and putting some funny stuff, some interesting stuff out there, some collaborations. Either way, my YouTube channel is officially the place to be. So stick around.